I'm here on vacation of sorts, resting, you could say even dormant. I'm sitting at a table overlooking the Gulf of Mexico, passing the time at a little restaurant called Gumbo Limbo, waiting for the green spark or the green flash to appear. Now, if you're not familiar with the green spark, then here's a news flash on what it is. The green spark is a natural phenomenon that occurs when the atmospheric conditions are just right. On the western horizon, as the sun goes down, a green spark flashes on the horizon. The spark lasts barely an instant, precisely when and where the sun goes down. Now, actually, this gives people something to do as they relax after a long day at work or on the beach or whatever they've been doing all day. They sit there sipping their pina coladas, umbrella drinks, and Chardonnay poured over ice. Go try to figure that out. That is not a natural phenomenon. Okay, well, let's get to dormancy, rest, and the parallel between vineyards and our lives. There are different seasons in life, and in the life of a vineyard, we're going to take a look at one of those seasons. That season is going to be dormancy, or that period of time in which the vines actually rest. We're going to look at several of the components of that. I think you'll find it interesting. At the end, there'll be a few questions that I ask that'll help maybe crystallize some of this for you. Wow, it was a little noisy and chilly out there. Okay, where were we? Right, there are rhythms and seasons in the vineyard and with the vines. In the vineyard, within the annual life cycle of vines, you have 8 different stages: dormancy, bud break, shoot growth, flowering, fruit set, growth, veraison. And veraison is that's that time of year when the grapes grow larger and begin to turn colors, and then you have harvest, and then back to dormancy. Over time, we'll look at each of these stages. In this video, we're going to look at dormancy. We're going to call this resting. We're going to see how there is a parallel between the vineyard and people, and possibly learn a lesson or two from the vines. After we look at 2 or 3 basic things about resting, I'm going to ask several important questions that may crystallize things for you. Things that may encourage you to reorient your life and possibly help others as they do so. As we look at vines after the harvest, we see that the grapes are gone and the leaves have turned different shades of yellow, orange, browns, reds, golds, and ultimately the leaves fall off and the vines are left bare. At this point, it appears that this is a period of complete inactivity. Nothing's going on. You know, as I've reflected on dormancy, I've come to realize that our society, have things somewhat backwards. Sometime after harvest, in the vineyard, the vintner prunes or cuts the long limbs off the bare vines. But it's not what's happening above the ground by those working in the vineyard that is so important. It's what's happening unseen that makes all the difference in the world. Down below, root development. Without this time of rest and development, the coming season's production and harvest of the future will not achieve its fullest potential. During dormancy, the vineyard and each individual vine is preparing itself to give a better harvest than the year before. I believe this is where we've gotten off track. Well, to be honest with you, I'm not as consistent as I would like to be with my periods of dormancy or rest. Most of my life, I've pushed it pretty hard, been driven, sometimes too hard. But I'm learning to blend the different pieces of life together. As strange as this may sound, I remember the first time I rested. I mean, really rested. I was in my late 30s and was preparing for an advanced certification in my industry. I rented a private bungalow for a week on the Atlantic side of Islamorada, an island in the Florida Keys. We left our kids with my parents. While I studied, my wife Judy would relax and read and sunbathe in a hammock strung between two palm trees on the private beach. I was up early each morning to study. She got up around 9:30 or 10 and fixed a late breakfast, actually sort of a brunch, for the both of us. We would have a slow, decompressing, relaxing breakfast on the deck under the palm trees overlooking the Atlantic. For dinner, we would go to the docks on the Gulf of Mexico side of the island and bring back to the bungalow fresh-caught crab claws, conch fritters, coleslaw, and a chilled Pinot Grigio. Also, for dessert, we splurged with freshly made key lime pie. Daily, Judy would remind me to take a break. A couple days in, she shifted gears and began to not just tell me to do something, but she began to encourage me to shut down for the rest of the week. She was concerned that I was driving myself to an early grave. After several days, she finally convinced me that I was well prepared and the exam would take care of itself. Now, with a moderately high degree of anxiety, I hung up the study and began to relax. You know, I did real well on that old test, but more importantly, I experienced for the first time how to rest. Whoa, almost 40 years old, and I rested for the first time. Now, I don't know about you. Judy knew that for me, being enticed or encouraged was a whole lot more effective than being guilted into doing something. As I've worked in, experienced, looked at, and reflected on vineyards, I've come to realize that there are two parts to resting, dormancy. The first is sort of vegging out, and the other is preparation. This is where it gets interesting, even kind of tricky. We rest not just to recharge, but to prepare ourselves for the coming season. This is where most of us, as a society, have deviated from the natural course of living life. We've deviated from the very purpose of life and the purpose of rest. Keep in mind, as I talk about and encourage rest, I'm not talking about or giving license to being lazy. Generally, we believe rest, even retirement, is the end game. It's the reward for working hard and accumulating whatever it is that we have determined we need to be comfortable. We live for the weekend, and frequently, restful vacations are a badge of accomplishment, even affluence. In reality, dormancy, rest, is that time of recharging physically, emotionally, relationally, and spiritually. Plus, it's the time for preparation. Preparation to determine how to give of yourself, your abilities, your gifts, and your talents. Whether or not you use a Fitbit, Whoop, or any of the other body monitors we find in the market, as we rest, sleep, our body is retooling itself, preparing for the next day, the next week, or the next season. As we look at how our lives and bodies parallel the vineyard, I ask you to take a look at where you are in all of this. First, consider your sleep habits. When you sleep, your body goes through different levels of rest. You have light sleep. This is your transition from being awake to getting to the stage of regenerating yourself. Light sleep is for the body what fall season is for the grapevine. Then comes slow wave sleep, SWS. This is also known as deep sleep. Here's where our muscles repair themselves and grow. 95% of our daily hormones are produced during this time of rest. This is the early winter in the vineyard. Keep in mind, it's not when you're working out that your muscles grow. It's during this time of rest. Now, we also have REM sleep. REM is rapid eye movement. This is when our brain is restored. This is when the ideas and the skills acquired during the day are submitted as memories. In the vineyard, this is the very late winter, that time just before bud break. But rest is so much more than sleep. The Good Book gives us guidelines both when and how to rest. In it, rest is called Sabbath. Without walking into the weeds, the Good Book teaches that as human beings, we are wired to rest. We're wired to rest daily, weekly, annually, every 7 years, and every 49 years. So to be healthy, effective, productive, we need to rest at those intervals. Every day, once a week, every year, every 7 years. Now, in our society, in some professions, that 7th year is called a sabbatical. That's when we need, and some are able to take a period of time off, like an extended vacation, to rest and prepare for the next season of our life, including our work or professional life. With this sabbatical, you return to your work or profession, vocation, even to your life with more creativity, passion, purpose, and productivity. Then, my favorite interval is every 49th year. In the Good Book, this is called the Year of Jubilee. Now, whether you take the entire year off, have an extended vacation, or earmark your 50th year as a special year for you, it's your Year of Jubilee. This is a perfect time to prepare or set your life trajectory for the next season of your life. At that point, you have enough age, wisdom, passion to know how to give of yourself, your energy, and time to invest in your future. You know, I don't know about you, but I have a tendency to fill my weekends with all kinds of things. All kinds of great things. Seemingly important things. We have a tendency to take that time, which should be designated to recharge, and we fill it with all kinds of activities. With kids, family, friends, activities, loved ones, hobbies, business, more activities, trips, vacation, grandkids. Did I say activities? The list goes on. If you're anything like me, sometimes I need a weekend just to get over the weekend, or a vacation to get over my vacation. Sometimes I think I've become a human doing rather than a human being. Now, please don't get me wrong. Accomplishment and doing good things are important, but we are wired to live lives of peace and harmony. Eastern philosophies talk about the yin and yang, how two opposites can be complementary. Western society talks about the balance of life. Faith-based people talk about blending or weaving the physical, emotional, relational, and spiritual branches of our life together to create an internal peace and harmony to life. Interestingly, I have spoken to quite a number of people and have found that a byproduct of the pandemic we're coming through is that many of us have had to take a forced sabbatical. And whether we have wanted it or not, many of us have rested and reassessed our lives and life's direction. Whether forced or voluntary, during each of these hardwired times, we're guided and encouraged to rest and prepare ourselves for the coming season, physically, emotionally, relationally, and spiritually. Typically, most of us don't know how to go into and come out of dormancy or rest. Without realizing, we're trying to live contrary to the way we are hardwired to live as human beings. Now, can you live Mach 2 with your hair on fire and still have peace and harmony? You bet you can. It's a matter of transforming your mind. Now, I don't know about you, but for me, I go through seasons of life where giving of my abilities, myself, is more difficult than other times in my life. I don't know where you are with your seasons and cycles of life, or your cycle of rest, your dormancy, let me ask you, actually, you might want to stop the video and write down your answers while they're fresh on your mind. How are you doing with resting? Have you learned to go into and come out of the two aspects of rest, totally vegging and intentional preparation? Are you leaning more towards the complete vegging? Or are you like me, you have a tendency to never, or at least rarely, never truly relax? Are you close to that internal peace and harmony? Do you need to reestablish your way of thinking and some of your priorities? What are they? Write them down. By the way, if you're close to that balance, let us know how you got there. It will be an encouragement to the rest of us. For the rest of us, remember, intentional rest is simple, but not necessarily easy. But I assure you, it's well worth the effort. My friend, if this was helpful, or if you liked it, let me know. Tell me about it in the comments below. And if you know someone that needs encouragement, share this with them. I'm sure they would appreciate it. Until next time, cheers.